Greetings everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm your host, Captain Rye, and today's YouTube video comes from subscriber Archer. Archer is here in his Tier 10 US destroyer, the USS Gearing. Now, the USS Gearing at the top tier destroyer level is actually a destroyer that I own, but have never played. And I've never played this destroyer mainly because I don't like the way it looks. And that's something that you can see time and time again with me. If I don't like the way the ship looks, I simply don't want to play it because I don't want to have to bear to look at it. However, the Gearing is still a fairly good destroyer. She has a few more advantages than the Fletcher down at Tier 9, but she also has a few more drawbacks. You might be thinking, but she's a Tier 10 destroyer, what could these drawbacks possibly be? And what are these advantages? Obviously, it's a whole nother tier up, so they've got to be plenty. Well, the drawbacks that the Gearing has are she's a little bit of a wider ship, which means incoming shots tend to hit you more often. Or I should say it's easier to hit you. And the torpedo reload time is significantly longer than the Fletcher. So with the Fletcher, you can get your torpedoes, if you spec it for a total torpedo reload, down to about 85 seconds. Or 95 seconds if you opt for a more general build like I have. The Gearing's torpedo reload is much closer to 2 minutes, adding a whole 30 seconds. However, the Gearing's torpedoes, they go 16 kilometers. So they sit nicely right between the Shimakaze's torpedo ranges. And that 16 kilometer torpedo range is actually kind of a good thing, because you can fire off at ships that are well outside of your torpedo range at 19, 20 kilometers, and by the time they sail into your torpedoes have managed to reach out and touch them at 16 kilometers. Of course, the disadvantage to that is by the time you get out there with those torpedo spreads, well, they're so wide that most of the enemy ships, especially if they're sailing bow on, can really just turn and avoid them. But that's not to say you can't reach out and touch somebody at those ranges. It certainly has happened, and it certainly will happen in this battle. Archer's team manages to lose one of their destroyers right off the bat, really disappointing there, but their team does capture both A and B, leaving the enemy team with only C. Now, because the enemy team did capture, and because they killed one of the destroyers, they are currently up on points, but that's not really going to last that long, as Archer's team has 2 of those cap points. Honestly, on this particular map, it's kind of difficult to decide where to go. A lot of the enemy team, especially if they spawn on red team's side, tend to like to cluster up at the A cap point. And in reality, you really should maybe focus more on clustering up around the B cap point, because that will allow you to hit targets at A, but simultaneously it'll allow you to go out and capture the C cap point and then defend it really well from any potential onslaught coming from A. But of course, regardless, the point is to get your firepower concentrated. Archer manages to hit and destroy an enemy cruiser at range with his torpedoes. Of course, I do believe that was the Kutuzov who was sitting in his smoke screen. Well, you know, learn those lessons the hard way. Smoke screens are torpedo magnets. And if you sit in your smoke screen, you will eat us the torpedoes. He does manage to get one more hit as his torpedoes continued on their merry way. Again, having 16 kilometer torpedoes means that you can hit a target like that Kutuzov at ranges of 9-10 kilometers, and then you've got another 6.5 kilometers for those torpedoes just to continue on back behind people and wreck them. Something you can't really do with the Fletcher, so you tend to be a little more careful at max and extreme ranges of aiming. So the enemy team is only up by one ship, but they still haven't managed to capture more than the C cap point. And Archer is just kind of holding the zone between B and A, and this is giving him a good line of sight and line of fire to a lot of the enemy ships up here. It's also giving him the advantage to be able to quickly respond to potential threats at both B and A, and keep his team situated with those two cap points. The other advantage to the gearing, like the Fletcher, is that it can stealth fire, though that will probably change in the future. I understand that they are going to remove that mechanic so that when you fire, your gun bloom goes out to the edge of your gun range, which would actually be a buff for the German destroyers, but a nerf for everybody else. Enemy destroyer up here has managed to get sneaky and get all the way around the backside. He probably capped C and then was just hanging around the back zone. Unfortunately for him, he made a mistake of doing that. He got spotted. And the Des Moines here is wrecking him and probably was using his radar to spot him. Archer hits yet more torpedoes on somebody and causes flooding this time. But it doesn't look like that flooding took hold. They probably repaired it instantly. So he's not going to get any additional damage. His team, however, not winning at the moment. Yes, they still have 2 cap points, but they're down 4 ships to the enemy's 2. And I'm actually kind of surprised here that Archer didn't opt to go chase down that destroyer. A destroyer in the backfield can be a very dangerous thing, and especially if they get away and are damaged or wounded, it means they're not going to open fire nearly as often. So it's going to be really kind of difficult for them to get spotted again. Enemy battleship up there, he's on fire in a few places. He's taking heavy hits. He's on fire, and he's about to get hit by torpedoes. The question is, who's going to get the kill? Surprisingly enough, it was actually our hero here. Archer manages to secure the kill through fire. But the destroyer that managed to land a torpedo hit on that poor battleship was probably pissed off that he didn't get the kill for doing that much damage. But hey, fire damage is fire damage, and I do believe if you don't manage to kill him outright with torpedoes, it bases the kill off of whose fire or flooding was set first. Enemy North Carolina pushing up here along the seaside. He's coming around by himself, although there's still that enemy destroyer back here somewhere. No, actually, I think that destroyer might have been taken out by the Des Moines. He probably got taken out as a last shot came in there. Archer is sitting in his smokescreen, but he's lost line of sight due to the fact that he's in his smokescreen. He does manage to hit that North Carolina with torpedoes, but only one. And the North Carolina wisely repairs. Friendly cruiser or battleship behind him is, I think, now spotting North Carolina, so he could actually just stay in his smokescreen here and rip into this guy with guns. But that North Carolina has been shooting at him just a little bit, trying to get lucky hits on him in here. As you can see, more shots coming in there, and he actually does manage to land a hit blind in smoke. Archer is switched over to his armor piercing. I'm not entirely sure if that's the best decision here. High explosive would help set more fires, though he is shooting into the superstructure, so that is getting him a lot of regular penetration damage. The question is, who's going to get the kill? It is the friendly cruiser. However, Archer takes a substantial amount of damage in the process of that. So he does have to be a little more cautious in the future. His team has managed to pull back the scores and pull back the number of ships on both sides. His team has the destroyer advantage, having 3 destroyers to the enemy's 2, and yes, that enemy destroyer that was in the backfield is still in the backfield. He is right down here. He's about half health, and he is getting shot at by a lot of different people now. Archer's taking shots at him. Friendly cruiser's taking shots at him. Archer manages to secure the kill on him. That poor destroyer really should have just maybe considered hiding further in the back. Archer manages to get torpedoes off at the enemy battleship up there that is sitting near the B cap point. He might push into it, but those torpedoes are on a very tight spread in a very narrow corridor. So if that battleship does push up into that B cap point, he will get hit by torpedoes, and if I think he sits there, he's going to get hit anyway. Archer's still playing in the backfield of this battle, and the teams are still fairly equal. This battle could arguably go either way. The enemy battleship is backing up, it appears, or he's fairly stationary. Archer's spotted, so he's going to pop his smoke screen and just kind of sit here and kind of weigh in on this battleship, along with the rest of his team and the rest of the destroyers on his team. This battleship, by the way, if you pay attention to the chat, is not happy. Not only is he not happy with Archer in the first place, because I think he might have torpedoed him near the beginning of the battle, but he is not happy about effectively getting ganged up on by, well, 2 destroyers and 2 cruisers. They are just wrecking this poor guy. Archer manages to set him on fire, and that fire looks like it's going to stick. He gets 2 sets of torpedoes off here. That might have been a little bit of a gutsy move. Fortunately for him, the Des Moines is paying attention, so he doesn't accidentally clip him and kill the Des Moines. That would be just a crushing and unfortunate team kill situation. That battleship looks like he has repaired the fire damage, and he's pushing up, but he is going to turn hard in order to avoid being broadside on to the cruiser. However, depending on how his aim is, that cruiser might be in a world of hurt as well. Again, he switches over to the armor piercing, and again, I'm not entirely sure this is a correct decision. I'd be firing high explosive here, trying to get the battleship on fire. Doesn't matter anyway, his torpedoes cause flooding, and that is enough to take out that battleship. Switches over to the high explosive in an effort to set fires onto this enemy ship, and his friendly cruiser pushes up in front of him, but he is taking the majority of fire from this ship. Speaking of fires, Archer manages to set a fire on that poor ship, and it looks like, yes, he gets taken out. No, his friendly cruiser who was spotting gets taken out. That's a bit of a crushing defeat for his team. The enemy team is now contesting the B cap point, but more importantly, they're capping A. And now with A and C and a ship's advantage, they're going to be able to very quickly get that points advantage back. Putting more shots out here, the enemy ship gets taken out just barely by the other friendly ship up there. But of course, that ship also gets taken out of the game. This battle still incredibly close. Again, the enemy team still has the ship's advantage, and they have the points advantage as far as caps go. It looks like his team still has just a slight points lead, and if they can kill another ship, then they can definitely maintain that points lead. Archer gets spotted here, not sure what it is. Oh, it's the Shimakaze, that could be bad. Enemy Iowa up there, looks like he's going to sail right into those torpedoes, and he does. And there, Archer manages to secure his Kraken Unleashed and takes out that Iowa just outright. Deletes that guy from the game. Enemy cruiser up here, very low health. Archer in a destroyer like this can easily take that guy on. Just keep spamming that high explosive and you will either burn him to death or just whittle his HP down. That cruiser is trying desperately. Come on, Archer, can you get the kill? He uses the island for cover, rock armor, best armor in the game. Manages to kill that ship as well. A little bit of a kill steal, but since there's nobody else around him, not really. Manages to take that ship's guns out of the game. That's going to give his team the maximum possible advantage, as it's now just down to their 2 destroyers that are very low health versus the Shimakaze. Archer is going to try and engage the Shimakaze with the amount of health that he has left, and this is target fixation right here. You can see it. He's not pulling that gun camera back. He's not really paying attention to the fact that his shots are being blocked by this island, and he's continuing to push forward. The Shimakaze is just continuing to drop rounds onto him. He hasn't repaired his engine, and this is a bad situation, and it doesn't look like he's going to torpedo beats it. No, he gets killed. Looking at how much health he has left, looking at how close the scores are, and when you look at how close to death that friendly destroyer over in C is, and it's a good thing he's capped C.
Our victory is in sight.
Losing Archer at this stage in the battle could have resulted in a close loss instead of a close victory. He does manage to secure a Confederate and a high caliber, and of course a Kraken Unleashed with 6 kills. But again, look how low health that destroyer is. He has no HP to spare. That Shimakaze decided to turn around, hit his speed boost, and come back this way, or if he was already sailing this direction. This guy would only have to encounter him for half a second for that Shimakaze to effectively wreck him and end the game and win it. Let this kind of be a prime example of target fixation. Archer, you saw an enemy destroyer, you're in a gearing, he's in a Shimakaze. Problem is, he had more HP than you, and you got target fixated. He dropped 2 sets of torpedoes, and you let him go in to chasing him around an island where he could drop another set of torpedoes that you wouldn't see until it was too late. And that's exactly what happened. Instead, you should have hit your repaired your engine, slammed on the brakes, and popped that smoke screen. Make that Shimakaze come back to you, and prep yourself, or possibly even have turned around and intercepted him on the other side with your own set of torpedoes. Smart. Benson is smart. His team's up on points. There's not a lot of time left in the battle. All he has to do is effectively survive, and they're going to win. There's no way that this Shimakaze, even though he's capping B, is going to win. So there we have it. It is a close victory. It wouldn't have been nearly as close if Archer didn't die, but he still did a pretty damn good job at 186,000 damage done. Confederate Kraken, 2 devastating strikes, and of course, high caliber. Lots of gun hits, lots of torpedo hits. 2 capture ribbons, so lots of delicious XP. Top of the team for XP earned there, well over 2,000 base XP. Anyway, that's it for today's video, folks. If you like that video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave a comment down below. If you'd like to get semi-regular channel news and updates, you can do so by liking and following my Facebook page. If you'd like to help support me and my channel, as well as get access to some of my replay files and screenshots for those files early before they hit YouTube, or the replays that aren't quite good enough to make it to YouTube in any given week, depending on what I've got, you can do so by becoming my supporter on Patreon. Any support level will grant you access to those replays. If you've got a replay like this one that you'd like to see on my channel, you can send it to my email. And if you'd like to watch me play World of Warships live, among other games or other projects, you can do so by following me on Twitch. As always, you can find the links for all of those in the video description down below. And I'll see you guys next time. This is Captain Rye, signing off.